she has right around 14 out of her 26 kids on mental health activities. 3 of those children are autistic. One of them it's his second year in kindergarten. He's 5 foot tall, so he's so much bigger than all the other kindergartners, and he can't even hold a pencil. But she's supposed to teach all of them. I don't know how she does it. Last year she had, her class did, it was about the same figure. There's final test scores for 95 average, and the closest kindergarten to her in Moines is 75%.
Wow, good for her. My goodness. Sounds like a great teacher.
I tell her she came out of the womb a teacher. but the teachers are being just plain wiped out.
Yeah, they need. We have woefully underfunded our schools year after year, as you well know, and they're having a hard time. Class sizes are way too large. The issues that they need to deal with without support are phenomenal, and we need to make sure they've got all the resources.
Now this year it took, for my grandson, who's a freshman in Valley, it took $1,000 to pay all of his fees. There he tried out. They didn't tell him when he tried out for show choir. He made show choir as a freshman. He said there was over 400 that tried out. I think 33.
For 33 slots?
Yeah.
Wow.
But then we had to pay. We had to pay $500 for his fees to be in show choir.
A lot of money.
But that's because so many. We had to pay for him to ride the bus. He's 2.9 miles away from the school. You have to be 3 miles away to not have to pay.
Sure. Yeah.
So we're paying $200 or $300 to ride the bus.
Right. It's a lot of expenses for our family.
He says, "What happens, Dad, to all the poor kids?"
First of all, what a great kid for thinking about that.
Well, he 2 years ago when he was 6th grade. 2 years ago, he was concerned when Branstead removed the money for summer reading program because he knew a lot of his friends wouldn't be able to keep up with reading. So he got a hold of, I don't know how he did it, he got a hold of Mark Smith. And Mark lined him up to open the house one day with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Wow.
And then he went around with him and talked to different legislators.
I love this kid. My gosh, he's ready to make a difference.
He's also a kid that, when he was 7, he looked around Walnut Ridge and said, "Grandpa, you see all the cans and bottles we throw away?" He said, "I think I could start a business and start raising money for college." 7 years ago.
Wow.
He's put $12,000 in his bank account for recycling cans and bottles.
You're kidding. What a kid.
Wow. I wish I knew how to save like that.
Yeah, he thinks.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is. A lot of things are crazy.
Susan was part of that, so we just want to thank you all. Well, there's Susan. Thank you all for coming, and I'm just going to put it into the hands of Cindy. She's very capable, and let her introduce herself. So let's give a hand to Cindy.
Well, happy to be here. Thank you so much for organizing this. I'm really grateful, and thank you everybody for coming out and taking time out of your day and your morning. I heard that there was a little snafu. The Facebook said 10 o'clock, so my apologies for that. But hopefully you just had some nice chats with your neighbors. So on a beautiful day, right? Well, let's get this started. I'm Cindy Axne, and I'm running for the United States Congress to beat David Young.
Yeah!
First of all, happy to be in this building because as a girl that grew up in the Des Moines area, passing it on multiple occasions, it was always, as a little kid, oh, maybe someday I'll get to live in that beautiful round building. So I'm so excited to be here. So as I mentioned, I'm from Des Moines. I'm a 5th generation Iowan, originally from the south side of town, and my mom is from a farm in Warren County. And I'm really standing here today because of the lessons that my parents taught me. Got a couple sisters, and they said, girls, Make sure that you help your friends and your neighbors, but help strangers alike, because when everybody does well, then our community thrives. And they said, stand up for what's right and fight back against injustice, even when it means standing up to someone more powerful. So I've tried to live by those lessons. I spent a career at the state of Iowa serving under our last 3 governors, Governor Vilsack, Cover, and Branstad, directing key strategies for the state, making sure that we had opportunities for the people that live here. In my role at the Department of Management, which is the governor's right hand for performance and budget, and that was under Governor Culver, leading key strategies for the state, like our energy and environment plan, and bringing the wind industry here to Iowa, and helping move us towards energy independence, and by the way, putting thousands of people to work in the process. So I work with literally every state agency, the governor's office, and the legislature, really to deliver better services to the people that live here. And then I had the opportunity to protect our environment as a division administrator at the Department of Natural Resources. And it's why I've tried to do things in our own backyard, like getting all-day kindergarten for the city of West Des Moines. I'm sure you've probably seen those ads. I had actually enrolled my older son, Gunnar, who's now 16, he's at Valley, and we got a letter about 30 days before he started school, and it said, your son lost the lottery. He gets the 2.5-hour version of kindergarten as opposed to all day. And that's when I found out half the kids in one of our biggest school districts in the state literally lost a lottery and didn't get that opportunity. So I couldn't help my son, that was gone, but I could sure help the kids coming after him. So I got busy and took about a year working my way up through the administration, talking with them about opportunities to make this happen. And we had 1 meeting left where this had to get passed. And I put together the data on the subject matter and equity and presented it to the board and said, you know, you've got to get this changed for the kids next year. We're taking this information to the head of the Department of Education and the Des Moines Register, letting them know you're just not living up to this district's expectations and you're failing its kids and its families. Well, they passed it. That superintendent's one of my big supporters because he knows when it comes to doing what's right, I'm not going to stop until we get the job done. And that's why I'm running for Congress, because I think right now we don't have a voice. There's nobody in Washington looking out for our corner of Iowa. And that's why I started this race. I started 15 months ago. And because I was personally unhappy with the decisions that were being made in Washington, decisions that I think are hurting hardworking Iowa families, decisions that are taking us backwards, and decisions that are definitely putting more money and opportunity into the pockets of wealthy people and corporations. And Iowans deserve a better voice than that. So when I get out there, I'm going to work with anybody, and that's why I've taken this opportunity over the last 15 months to go travel this district and hear the concerns that we have for the people here in our state, because I'm there to work for us. And I'll tell you what, in those 15 months, having over 125 meet and greets now, yeah, that's a heck of a lot. I'll tell you what, we are out there working incredibly hard as Iowans, and we are trying. I've heard the stories for families who are hopeful that they're going to have affordable, effective health care for their family, that our seniors have the opportunity to retire with dignity, and that we bring good paying jobs back here to Iowa so that we can support our families, give them a little bit to live on, put some money away, and make sure that their kids have opportunities. And I don't think that's too much to ask for. But unfortunately, my opponent doesn't believe that. And as a matter of fact, he's in Washington working against Iowans. He's so mired in the ways of Washington that the decisions he's making are actually hurting us. He's taken money from corporations and special interests, then he turns around and votes in their favor, not ours. He's taken money from health insurance companies and then voted to increase premiums on Iowans, including older Iowans. And he's taken money from corporations, then turned around and voted for a tax bill that puts more money back into the pockets of those wealthy shareholders and takes money from hardworking Iowa families. And we can do a heck of a lot better than that. And that's what I intend on doing. So as I mentioned, I'm a 5th generation Iowan. I'm also a small business owner. My husband and I have a small website design business. And I'm a mom of 2 teenage boys. which I jokingly say might be my best experience for accomplishing things in Congress. That's a lot to negotiate. And I'll tell you what, that decade in state government really helped me understand how important it is to root out waste in our system and hold government accountable to doing what's right. So when I go to Congress, that's what I'm going to be doing. And unlike my opponent, I refuse to take corporate PAC money because I'm going to be working for the people. I'll tell you what, we've got a lot to do, but it does not matter if you live here in our metro area, if you live out on a farm, or in one of our rural communities. We all deserve to have a voice in Washington. And when I get out there, I'm going to work with anybody, and I truly mean this. I don't care if it's a Democratic bill, a Republican bill, as long as it's right for the people here in Iowa, I'm going to make sure that we vote for it. But if it's wrong, I'm going to stand up against it and fight back for the people that live in our state. And, you know, I'm going to go out there and make sure that we all have a voice. Our seniors, our teachers, our hardworking union members, our students who are coming out with so much debt they can't get off on the right foot, small business owners. We all need an opportunity. And by the way, we're all in this together. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
Absolutely. So I'm going to do what I've been doing for the last 15 months, is getting out and talking with as many people as I can. But I want to tell you some words that Governor Vilsack said about last fall. I was at an event for Dave Loebsack, and he said, these are the most important elections in 50 years. And I couldn't agree with him more. I think the heart and soul of our state is at risk. The heart and soul of our country is at risk.
Amen.
Yeah, so as I go out there talking with as many people as I can, with independents and Republicans, because I'll tell you what, we're all facing the same issues in this state, and it doesn't matter if you have a D or an R behind your last name. We all deserve good health care, we all deserve good public schools, we all deserve good paying jobs, and we all deserve to retire with dignity. And I think that that's what we should be pushing for. So I'm asking all of you for your vote, because we absolutely need to win this. I'm asking all of you to go out and talk with your friends and your neighbors and your family and let them know that there's a better choice in this election, a choice that's going to give opportunity and hope to the people that live in our district. So I ask you for your vote, I ask you for your support, because together we can bring hope and opportunity to every single person in this district and in the state and this country once again. Thank you so much. Great to be here. Can I answer any questions?
How do you feel about the minimum wage in Iowa?
Well, we absolutely need to increase the minimum wage. We need a living wage that our families can be supported on. Right now, we have too many people who are having to work 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet, and if you work 40 hours a week in this country, you should be able to live a life of dignity and be able to support your family. So I'm going to be working hard at that. Yeah.
I represent the Iowa pediatricians at the state legislature.
Oh, okay.
On child health and welfare issues. They're wondering what you see as some of the areas where you can improve child health and welfare.
Well, I appreciate you asking that question. One of the things that I worked on at the state of Iowa was community empowerment. And that's working with, if you're probably familiar with it, working with communities where children weren't going to be able to hit the ground running in kindergarten. And we all know that when they are, they have a better chance at learning, then a better chance of graduating from high school, going into a post-secondary opportunity, and living a successful life. So we went in and worked with communities where there were those indicators that these children would be successful, like high levels of food scarcity, low levels of immunization rates, and went in and set up nonprofit partnerships with those communities to make sure that we raised up those families. So I want to make sure that our children have every opportunity to be successful. I think making sure that they've got health care at the earliest age so that they have opportunity is incredibly important. I'll be supporting that all along the way. You know, I'm somebody who's had to have my own insurance many times in my life because of being a small business owner. And when I was pregnant with my second son, we couldn't get maternity coverage as part of an individual plan back then unless I paid for a rider that cost $1,000 a month, held it in place for at least a year before becoming pregnant. Yeah. Well, we couldn't afford that. So when our second son was born, we literally had to sell our personal items on eBay just to cover the cost of those medical bills. And there were times where I didn't take my young boys to the doctor when they started to feel sick because the insurance didn't cover it. That's unacceptable. We should never have issues where our families are forced to make a decision about their children's health or keeping food on the table. So I'm going to be out there pushing for every opportunity for our children.
Another thing that is concerning me a great deal, basically every state's handling Medicaid differently. And I've got a granddaughter, and I think the rules ought to be universal, but I've got a granddaughter that has lupus. Her husband's making minimum wage, they don't have insurance, they're on Medicaid, and I've spent between $4,000 and $6,000 this year paying her co-pays so she can get treatment. Unless she pays the co-pay, she can't get the treatment. And it's criminal. And I'm finding it more all the time among the low-income people. My wife took a lady from here to the doctor the other day. She had blood in her urine. She went over to the hospital. They wouldn't treat her because she hadn't worked recently enough to have Medicaid.
Oh, God.
That's not the way our country's supposed to be.
Absolutely not.
That's right, yeah.
And on top of that, with the VA, I am extremely nervous. They're going to come at it again. They want to privatize Medicaid, and the Koch brothers want it because they got such heavy investment in the medical system. They want that money from the veterans to come in their pockets.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm going to do everything I can to fix this healthcare issue. It is literally the issue that we're facing, not just in Iowa, but across this country. I've had the opportunity to talk with other people running for office across the country. It is the same thing I hear, state after state. It does not matter if it's West Virginia or if it's California. We have a huge issue, and certainly we need to make sure that our veterans are protected. And just so you know, the Koch brothers have targeted this district, so they'll be in here with attack ads because they want to keep David Young in office because they support David Young and his policies that hurt Iowans. That's why we need all the support that we can get. We'll never be able to compete against big money like that, but we can compete with good people who are getting out and spreading the word. Yeah.
Well, in the vein of medical, how do you feel about Medicare for all, or a universal health care at any rate?
Well, go ahead.
Good question.
Oh.
Yeah, so what I want to do is make sure that every single Iowan and American has opportunity to affordable, effective care. So it's a two-pronged approach. I want to make sure that we shore up the Affordable Care Act, include the provisions that are under attack right now, like making sure that we cover pre-existing conditions, ensure that there's no lifetime cap, make sure that we have the opportunity to negotiate prescription drugs, which was something that we aren't able to do, and it's why our prescription drugs are so expensive. And certainly ensure that those expanded Medicaid subsidies continue to flow as a result of the ACA so that we keep our MCOs open, so we keep our regional hospitals open. If those shut in many parts of Iowa, there'll be no provider for people here in this country. And at the same time, I'd like to introduce a public option so people can buy into Medicare or Medicaid so that every single person has access to affordable, effective care.
That's definitely a start. Okay.
Yeah.
Our scientists are telling us that we do have climate change, in spite of what Trump says that we don't. And I'm very concerned about legislation being passed, acknowledging that and trying to reverse the climate change downfall.
Listen, I couldn't agree with you more. We absolutely need to protect our environment and push back against climate change, and we've got incredible opportunity here in Iowa to make that happen. As I said, I directed the governor's energy and environment plan and helped make Iowa #2 in wind energy production in the country, and also move us towards clean biofuels. We've got incredible opportunity there, and we're ranked 16th in the country when it comes to solar opportunity. So that's an industry that we aren't investing in here that we need to invest in. Quite honestly, China is doubling down right now. They are taking over the solar market. They are creating a huge economy as a result of it and putting a heck of a lot of people back to work. So we've got an opportunity to address these issues. Clean energy jobs outweigh fossil fuel jobs 5 to 1 and pay a heck of a lot more. And right here in Iowa, you know, I've got a supporter who owns a solar manufacturing company. He can't even find enough workers. We don't have enough trade skills workers, which is something else that I'm pushing for, bringing trades programs back into our high schools and making sure that we've got apprenticeship for people as well.
That's excellent. That's excellent.
Yeah.
Was it Reagan who brought in the word telegenic? Looks good on TV. So I'm just new in Iowa and you are spectacular on the screen. However, when you're lined up with all these other people, so I have 5 questions, I'll just ask them and then as you remember. How would you separate what the fellow Young is saying about what he'll do? Because everybody is in there saying, I'm gonna plug for everybody. Why aren't we using solar and clean energy here in Iowa? What stops that? And what do you mean by aging with dignity, having an income so we can have with dignity? Tell me what your picture is of that. Will you be here or will you be in DC? And the last thing, coming from a massive city with traffic problems and all kinds of progress, when we bring mega corporations in to attract a brain trust, it affects this polite driving we have in Des Moines. People are very nice here. What do you say to all of those as you call?
Well, the driving thing I'm going to leave to all of us, and just that we're all polite on the roads. I think that you know we run very hectic lives in this country anymore, and I think that that's part of that issue. But I think let me address your first question, which is how do I differentiate myself from my opponent. So here's the deal, right on air, Congressman Young isn't talking about what positive things he's doing. All he's put out is attack ads against me. And so has the Republican Party. Paul Ryan's super PAC is in here with attack ads on me. You want to know why? Because he did pay for play. He traded his vote for health care for their financial support. So Congressman Young told Iowans he would vote against the Republican health care bill that was in the House about 1.5 years ago. Literally told Iowans. Thousands of people called because we know what an issue this is, and he said, absolutely, I'll do that. Mm-hmm. Paul Ryan said, you vote for that, we pull your money out, and they did, because he did turn around, originally went and did the vote for it. Then they pulled his money from his office and said, if you don't support this bill, then we're going to take away all your money and keep it away. So he went in and voted for it. Mm-hmm. This guy's a complete pay for play. He works for his political party leadership. He's not working for the people here in the state. He's not working for his constituents. And that's the job. You stand up to anybody in Washington that isn't looking out for the people that you're representing. And Congressman Young isn't doing that. So his ads are all attack ads. They're not about helping Iowans because what he's doing isn't helping Iowans. Exactly. And we're putting things out there like, talking about my background in efficiency and holding government accountable. I have a background in strategy. I have an MBA from Northwestern Kellogg, worked for Tribune Company, have helped large companies, small companies, and the government function better. And by the way, save tens of thousands of dollars so that we could deliver more services. And I'm talking about how important that is, because it's great that we put policy in place, but we also have to have structures and resources behind those to make sure those performance outcomes we're trying to achieve are accomplished. And so I'm going to run on that. The fact that I'm about as persistent as it gets. When it comes to doing what's right, I don't stop until we get the job done. That's how I grew up. I was the kid that stood up to the bully in fourth grade at the bus stop, and I haven't stopped since then. Because if I see something that we need to address, the only people that can do that are other people, and that's how I've lived my life. And I think those are the two things that we're pushing. And then, of course, we'll be pushing for the agendas that I want to see in Washington. Things that we just talked about, bringing in jobs that pay well, jobs that are moving us towards energy independence, apprenticeships opportunities for our kids, work programs for people who want to change careers or need to change careers, making sure that we've got money for our public schools. And so we'll be talking about all those issues.
In DC or here?
Well, you had asked earlier a little bit about this job. So the number one Two things. Congress people are to, craft law, create policy so that we can live better lives. And so you do that out in Washington, but you come back to your district and talk to your constituents so you can stay abreast of what's happening and making sure that you're addressing the needs that your constituents are facing. So I'll be in both places. I will be in DC and I will be coming back here to Iowa to make sure that I talk with our voters. And unlike our current congressman, I'm not just gonna go flip pizzas at Casey's so I can get a TV boost from it, or go to the 4-H meetings. By the way, I grew up with 4-H. We brought it up from the farm to West Des Moines, so but I'm not going out there to just make photo ops so that I can be on TV or in the paper. This is about really talking with people, going out to our communities, sitting down with their local boards, their people, business development on a consistent basis, school boards, working with people at the local hospitals and making sure I'm staying in touch with what's happening on the ground level so I can see if we're moving forward in the right direction. And if we're not, we take it back to Washington and make sure that we fix those issues. Yeah.
You sure have the energy.
We have time for one more question, and then Cindy will mingle a little bit. So.
Yeah. Right here? Okay. Here we go.
Okay. When you're elected to the U.S. House of Representatives and the vote comes up to impeach the building of the White House, how do you vote?
Well, listen, here's what I would say across the board for that. I would say across the board, we need to elect officials who are going to stand up for our democracy, follow the law, and work by the rules of the Constitution. And unfortunately, we've seen politicians who aren't doing that. What we need to make sure is that due diligence is followed, and through this investigation, we'll see where that goes. And dependent upon that, I'll make a decision at the time that will be well thought out based on the facts that are presented. Certainly, if we see any facts that there's been collusion, that there's been treason, that our country has been put at risk, and there's facts to support that, then that's something that will absolutely need to be done, because that would need to be done for any president. Doesn't matter what party that you're with. Mm-hmm. And so I'm a person about following the law and making sure that we do our due diligence and making sure that due process is served. And the unfortunate thing I think we've seen in this country is that we haven't seen that in many cases. Senator Grassley wouldn't allow the nomination of Merrick Garland to come to the floor for the Supreme Court, even though by law that he was supposed to, because Obama was a sitting president. And so what I don't like to see, and I don't think we should see on either side, is manipulation of law to suit a particular purpose because it fulfills a partisan politics. That's just wrong. And I hope that we see across the board, because I know there's good Republicans and I know there's good Democrats in this country that are willing to work together and that feel that same way, that we'll be able to make a wise decision.
Good. All right, thanks guys for coming out.
Could I just say that if anyone would like to fill out an absentee ballot request today, we're going to have some, and Maggie, Susan, and I would stay here to collect them, and then one of us or the other representative from the Democratic Party will take them right down to the auditor's office. And if anyone is interested in some kind of contribution to Cindy, there are some envelopes up there at the table that you're very welcome to give a donation.
Justin is our representative today with any absentee ballot requests.
I'm right here. Yeah, and
with our campaign, and he can help you out.
Yeah, so I'll let Justin say a few words, but just to close up, again, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I'm grateful that you've taken this time to do that. We have got to change what's happening in this country.
Right.
We need every single person to come out and vote, and we need all of you to stand up and tell other people that they've got to be a part of our democracy. Absolutely. The reason that we're in the state that we're in is because the wealthy and corporations have controlled everything through multiple avenues of gerrymandering, of Citizens United, of just lobbyists who are out there pushing for agendas that don't work for Americans but work for rich people. We all need to stand up and say, we want our country back, and we absolutely deserve it as American citizens. So thank you for being here. Really well done.
Hi there.
there. Thank you all for coming out today. Thank you so much, Cindy. My name is Justin. I'm one of Cindy's field organizers for this neighborhood here in the West Side. So I really appreciate you all coming out today. I have on me some absentee ballot request forms. So if you want to vote from home, we can get your ballot sent to you directly in the mail. It is the safest way to vote. Your ballot will get shipped out by October 8th, so you'll have some time to look at it, look through all your options, and decide how you want to vote on every single race. Of course, I hope you are already voting for Cindy. I also have, if you are interested in getting involved with the campaign, I do work in this area, so feel free to let me know, and I'm sure we can talk about it further. Thank you so much. I'll probably just stay back here to make sure I don't block the exit, but I really appreciate all your time, and if you're interested in voting early, we can make it happen. Thank you so much again.
Hi there, you snuck in on me. Oh, that's all right. What's your name? Cheryl?
What was it that you were saying that you have? The mental health?
I'm on the Mental Health Planning Commission.
Oh, okay. So it's a statewide?
I'm vice chair.
Oh, okay.
We meet on